from its human rights and democracy program to a range of on-side political groups. Before long, the fruits of these investments started to appear in the international media.
The gap between the reporting on human rights in Haiti and the reality of human rights in Haiti, I think, is explained by a couple things. One of them is the very strong and effective propaganda campaign, but also the convergence of class interests with the international interests. So you had Haitian elites who controlled the media, they controlled public discussion. They were almost unanimous in opposing Haiti's elected government. And I think the combination of the Haitian elites coming together and the international community, which was funding media, it was funding human rights groups, it was funding NGOs, and that money, I think, had a big role in influencing how things were discussed on the ground in Haiti.
By the end of 2003, the Haitian elite were demanding that Aristide resign and that the army be brought back to guarantee order and stability. Anti-Aristide demonstrations drawing hundreds of protesters were lavished with media attention, creating the impression that Haiti was on the brink. But what the mainstream media concealed was that the majority of Haitians still supported the government. In the urban sprawl of Haiti's capital, Port-au-Prince, Lavalas organized mass counter-demonstrations, drawing tens of thousands of protesters who demanded that Aristide serve out his term.
Once we say no to coup d'etat, then we say yes to life. And we have the responsibility of protecting the life of every single citizen.
The government was still holding out. The campaign to destabilize it would have to enter a new phase. In early February 2004, the paramilitaries switched tactics, shifting from low-intensity hit-and-run operations to an all-out insurgency. Within 3 weeks, they were in control of much of rural Haiti and had taken the country's second city, Cap-Haïtien.
By late February 2004, how much of the country did you and your men control?
More than half. We control Atibonite, Plateau Central, Northeast, Northwest. Brothers, I had my pockets of resistance. South, I think we had more than half. The plan was to surround Aristide, force him to leave, and make a real revolution.
What was the end game in late February? How to finish the job, basically? Well, you back the government into a corner. You create a lot of media hype around this so-called popular insurgency, which is in fact just a few dozen people. But you push Aristide into a corner so that his back's against the wall, and the prospect of a bloodbath is becoming very real. And in that context, you can plausibly represent intervention as a kind of rescue attempt. You can basically say, well, we went in to save Aristide from certain death, to save what could be saved of Haitian democracy in the face of the prospect of civil war or, a cycle of violence or the failure of the state or something like that.
Il y avait un envahissement de son territoire par les Américains. Il y avait des voitures blindées, à l'intérieur de la cour. On frappe à la porte. Hein? J'ouvre. Luis Moreno, qui travaillait pour l'ambassade américaine, il a dit au président Haïti qui se trouvait derrière moi, Mr. President, 10 years ago, I'm the one that went to greet you at the airport from you return from exile. It's unfortunate that now I'm the one that has the obligation to tell you that you're going to departing.
American troops go to Aristide's house in the middle of the night and essentially put a gun to his head and say, if you don't leave now on the plane that we are bringing in this very night in a couple of hours, then we are basically going to open the gates of hell, more or less, that we will launch what will, in fact, this is their own term, there will be a bloodbath and it will be on your head.
The plane that fetched Aristide was sent from Guantanamo Bay. It filed a false flight plan. No one on the plane was allowed to do any communications, and it did a 22-hour odyssey.
President Aristide, not even knowing where he was going, was flown to the Central African Republic.
The idea that someone was abducted was just totally inconsistent with everything I heard, saw, heard, I'm aware of.
He was not kidnapped. We did not force him onto the airplane. He went onto the airplane willingly, and that's the truth.
As I said, it's nonsense, and conspiracy theories like that do nothing to help the Haitian people realize the future that they aspire to, which is a better future, a more free future, and a more prosperous future.
But what is extraordinary is that this story, that the government was unpopular, that it was illegitimate, that it was violent, that it was corrupt, that it had lost popular support and so on, that this gross propaganda effort was presented in terms that were broadly successful and succeeded in characterizing the coup then and ever since as not a coup, but as a kind of intervention by benevolent humanitarian powers for the benefit of the Haitian people in order to stabilize the country.
Hold on a second, please. President Aristide resigned. He has left his country. I have ordered the deployment of Marines as the leading element of an interim international force. It's the beginning of a new chapter in the country's history, and the United States is prepared to help. Thank you.